after he told me that I went to Mays Middle, he knew my name, he knew the grade I was in, and he knew the color of the house that was across the street from me, and it was diagonal from me. I started freaking out. So hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Haley's Life, with your girl Haley. So this video, as you can tell by the title, it is called Story Time. The time I had a stalker. I am just going to jump right in because I'm probably going to ramble on and I don't know how long this video is going to be. Keynote or side note, by the way, I have my Christmas onesie on even though it's not Christmas anymore. I love it so much. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. So I got my first phone in the middle of 6th grade for my birthday. My birthday is in February. The time I had a stalker happened, I want to say the end of 6th grade or the beginning of 7th grade. I'm not sure on the exact dates. It was somewhere in middle school between the end of 6th grade and 7th grade. I feel like my voice sounds really weird. Okay, anyways, so I got my first phone and it was a school night. I was laying in bed and I remember I got a phone call from a random number I didn't even recognize whatsoever, and I don't answer phone numbers unless I recognize them or I have the number saved in my phone. So it was late at night. It was like around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I was still up, tossing and turning, couldn't fall asleep, and I got my phone rings, and I look at it, didn't recognize the phone number, so I, didn't think anything of it. Well, then my phone vibrates, and whoever called me had left a voicemail. And the voicemail said something like, "I see you, I'm in your closet, I'm," like something like, somewhere in between the lines, "I see you, I'm in your closet and I'm going to kill you." Well, back in the 6th grade, I'm 19, almost 20. Back in the 6th grade, the in thing was to prank call people. So I still didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, it's just someone, prank calling, because back in the 6th grade, I did the same thing. If I was bored, I would just dial random numbers and I would prank call them. So didn't think anything of it. At first, when I first heard it, I was like kind of scared. And at this time, my mom was married and my stepdad worked 3rd shift, so I was like contemplating on going in my mom's room and sleeping in her bed, but I knew if I told her about the voice message, she would freak out. So I didn't say anything. I left it alone. And I want to say the number, after they left me the first voicemail, the number called again, I want to say like 2 more times. But the last 2 times they didn't leave a voicemail, they just called. So like for days passed by and this number would still call me, and as the days came by, like sometimes I would answer them, and this guy had a Jamaican accent, like he lived in Jamaica, or he was just visiting here from Jamaica, or just like settled or started living here from Jamaica. I don't know what, but he had a Jamaican accent. And so with his Jamaican accent, I thought it was kind of funny. And so me being a little kid, thinking that someone's, just playing this week-long prank on me, like I'm going along with it, asking him questions, da 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 da. So A few days passed by, and my ex-best friend, I was over at her house. Well, the guy calls me again, and I answer, and he just starts talking, and I just hang up, like I just ignore him. Well, he keeps calling and calling. Well, eventually, like, I'm like, hey, not gonna say her real name, Samantha, let's go in your room and you can hear this guy, because she kept asking me, like, who's calling you over and over again. So we go in her room, and this is the time that I start getting freaked out. All the other times before, besides the first time he called me and left a voicemail saying, I'm in your closet, I'm gonna kill you, he was just like joking around. I would answer and he would say Haley, and I would just hang up. And at this time, I was still thinking that it was someone I knew playing a prank on me, because I would go to school and I would talk about this guy prank calling me. So I thought it was my friends, hearing me throughout the day tell them about this guy calling me with a Jamaican accent, and they're just, keep calling me, going along with the prank. So I was forgot what name I called her, Samantha. We went to her room and he called me, and this time I answered and I put it on speakerphone. And after like numerous calls, I would ask him, like, how do you know me? And he's like, you go to Mays Middle, which was my middle school, and you know my sister. And I was like, well, who's your sister? And he said this name. I think it was a made up name, because I didn't know a girl named by that name or had that name. So I was just like, no, I don't know anyone by that name. And he was like, well, I know you go to Mays Middle. And he said, I know where you live. And I said, well, if you know where I live, tell me where I live, pretty much. And he's like, I know the house, the color of the house that lives diagonal from you or across the street. And I said, what's the color of the house? And he said, blue. So after he told me that I went to Mays Middle, he knew my name, he knew the grade I was in, and he knew the color of the house that was across the street from me, and it was diagonal from me. I started freaking out. So at this time, my friend was like, let's go tell my mom, see what she says. So I'm just like laughing about it, because when I get scared, nervous, anything like that, I either shut down or I just start laughing, because I don't know what other emotion to show. So I'm like laughing, giggling, ha ha ha. Well, at this time, her cousin was living with her. So once we told her parents and he had kept calling and calling, they eventually heard him say, like, I would say, like, disturbing, because I didn't know who this guy was and he knew a lot of information about me. So her cousin was like going off on him, like, these are little kids, who are you, how do you know them, leave her alone, da 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 da. Well, then she would hang up, and he was like really persistent, like really 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 persistent. Like, we would hang up and not even a second later he would call back. So my friend's mom, Samantha, her mom, she said, we need to go tell your parents. So we walk down and she knocks on the door, and my mom comes out, and she, on our way down there, backtrack. This is when things got really, really serious. As we were walking down to my house, because my best friend lived literally 3 minutes in walking distance. Mind you, this whole time he has called me and is talking to me on the phone. He has had a Jamaican accent this whole time. Kid you not, the Jamaican accent sounds legit. And so Samantha's cousin had my phone because he kept calling. And as we're walking down there, he calls and he asks her a question. This is exactly what he asked her. If I come down there and catch you, what are you gonna do? And excuse my language, but Samantha's cousin said, if you come down here, I'm gonna beat your ass. And he said back to her, mind you, again, he's had a legit Jamaican accent this whole time. He goes, well, when I come and find her, I'm gonna kill her. And there was no longer a Jamaican accent. It was an English accent, plain as day. Jamaican was gone. So she starts freaking out. She's like, you need to go inside. You can't go home. He said that when he finds you, he's going to come and kill you. So we go knock on my mom's door. She tells my mom. Of course, at this moment, my mom is freaking out. She takes my phone. She doesn't, I don't know why, but she doesn't tell me that that I need to come home. She says that I can go back down to my friend's house, but when I come home, my friend's mom either has to drive me down there, back down to my house, or her dad had to walk me back home. So I'm like, okay. So this whole time I'm at my friend's house, like we're all like freaking out. Her mom really doesn't want to bring it up just because she doesn't want to freak me out. So I think I had to be home by like 9:30, 10. So I get home and I overhear my mom telling my stepdad that, we need to get a gun because she doesn't know what this guy is capable of. At this time, we had T-Mobile service, and I guess my mom had called T-Mobile to see if they could track down this dude to see exactly where he lived at. And T-Mobile said, we can't do that, but if you want, we can get the police involved and see what they're able to do. But I don't know why my mom said she didn't want to get the police involved. I'm not really sure why. Maybe she didn't want the guy to find out and him actually seriously come and do something. But we didn't end up pressing charges. I didn't have my phone for legitimately like 4 months. And then when I did get my phone back, it was a new number. Still to this day, we don't know who the person was. We didn't catch him for like 4 months straight. If I went outside, I had to stay in like a certain distance around my house, or if I walked down to my friend's house, my parents had to watch me walk down there. And me and my friend had to have a meeting point halfway. So halfway from my house, my parents could still see if anything were to happen. And she had to meet me there, and then we both had to walk back together. And it was like that for a good almost like half a year. But it scared me because at first I thought the person was just playing around, but now that I look back on my younger self, I should have told my mom way sooner, starting with a voicemail that said, I'm in your closet and I'm going to kill you. But yeah, we still don't know who the guy is today, which is kind of scary, but that happened when I was like 13 years old and I'm now 19 and almost 20. Nothing has happened. I'm not really too concerned with it anymore because I feel like if the guy was going to do something, he would have done it a long time ago. That I also think that whoever it was didn't live I live in Kansas, so I feel like he didn't live in Kansas. I feel like he lived in another state or out of the country, because I remember my mom saying that when T-Mobile looked up the phone area code was registered from Canada, I think, or something. It wasn't, I can't remember where it was registered at, but my area code is 316, and the person that called me did not have an 316 area code. So I feel like since we got my phone disconnected and I got a new number, he wasn't able to track me anymore, because I feel like that's how he was following me around, or like knowing the locations that I was going to or at. So I feel like once I got my phone number changed, he couldn't contact me anymore. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't stalk people for a living or on a daily basis, so I'm really not sure how that all works. But the good thing is that he no longer stalks me, and I'm grateful that I had actually told my ex-best friend's parents, because if I hadn't have told them, I don't know what the outcome could have turned out to be. He could have possibly did what he said he was going to do and kill me, or he could have, stalked me, kidnapped me, raped me, any of those things. You don't know the circumstances. That when people say stuff, you don't know if it's true or what they're going to do or what they're capable of. So just a word of an advice to young girls. 1, if someone calls you from a number that you don't know, do not answer. Because more than likely, if you know that person, or if someone is going to call you that you know, you're going to have their number saved, or you're going to somewhat recognize the number that calls you. Number 2, no matter if it is on social media, if it's from a phone call, or someone says it to you in person, if they say that they're gonna hurt you, commit crimes to you, do anything that is going to hurt you or put your life in danger, tell an adult. So if someone calls you and says, hey, I'm gonna kill you, and I mean, obviously he wasn't joking, you need to tell your parents, or you need to tell an adult so you can get help. Because if I wouldn't have been at my friend's house and my friend wouldn't have said we need to tell my mom, I do not know what the outcome would have been. It probably would have been a lot worse. But that is a story time of how or when I had my stalker. If you guys like more story times and want me to do them more often, like, thumbs up, subscribe, and as always, I was gonna say something and then I lost my train of thought. But as always, have a good day. Like, share, and subscribe.